Okay, so for rendering your, let's say your environments, I do recommend that you kind of render at least at HD resolution. So I typically will just go to 1920 by 1080 inside of the document space, and then just very quickly hit resize right here. Yes, I want to resize it. We'll leave kind of a snapshot of your tool on the canvas. You just want to hit Control N to clear it. Drag out the model, hit T to make sure you're in edit mode again. And then I'm going to go to Document and use this kind of left click and drag on the zoom button, and you want to zoom in. You'll see kind of your border for the document space. So you want to just kind of frame that up so you make sure you're seeing the full document. And sometimes, it's hard to see where that is because I kind of have gray on gray in here. So you could kind of pick a custom color. Let's say go to Document and click on Border. Sorry, let me try that again. Document, click on Border. There. So that can kind of at least tell you where your document is. So now things are going to be much higher res. So usually what I like to do is kind of have a top view first, and I'll just hit F to frame, which will kind of frame everything in. And I can simply go to Document, Export. So yeah, I'll do this, I guess, in my scenes here. Scene images. So you can just go top view, save. And it'll ask you, if you want to crop it. Don't bother cropping it, just say OK. So then the next step is a 3/4 view. So I usually will have perspective on for this. Again, trying to frame things as best I can. Again, Document, Export. Okay, this is one method that we can use. I'm going to show you a little bit of a different method that I also like. So I'll go back to top view, hit F to frame everything. And under Document, there's something called ZAppLink, and I've kind of got a compressed version of it down here at Document Settings, but I'll talk about it here first. So under ZAppLink Properties, you can say, let's click on Top View. Okay, and then I'm going to click and rotate to another view here. Oops. Sorry, I'll kind of recenter, make sure I'm in perspective again for my kind of 3/4 view. And then I'll go to Documents, Custom 1. Then I'll maybe go to a side view. Documents, maybe I'll just click on Right. That's fine. And then I'll go to, let's say, a detail view. So I'm going to just kind of like zoom into a region that has some more detailed sculpting. I don't know, let's say here, for example. Go to Document and say Custom 2. So what's great about this is if I say click on Make Character Sheet, right, it'll kind of send everything out. And then you simply have to open this in Photoshop. This is opening, by the way, in Fast Stone Image Viewer, which I really love as a thumbnail viewer. And what's great about it is if you hit the E key, it'll actually allow you to send this directly to a photo editor of your choice. So in this case, I'm going to add Photoshop. Say OK, and then OK again. And so that'll send that out. I've got my template here, so I'm going to go to course material, download the template. There we go. Open the template. And what's great about this is, like I said, the background is kind of already cropped out, so we can kind of take, let's say, the marquee tool, for example, and select this. And let's see, copy, paste, I think. Copy, Control-C, Control-V. Yeah, I tried to drop it, but it wasn't working for some reason. I'm not sure why. Okay, so then, yeah, if I hit V, I think too, usually you can kind of just click, I think, on that, and it'll select it, but not sure. Sometimes this doesn't always work great. Oh, okay, there, yeah. If you just hit W for wand, and then I think if you hit V, you should be able to kind of click and drag it, I think, in. So let me try that one more time. Drag and drop. Cool. So again, W for select this object. V, click and drag to the tab, drop it in. Okay. Now I do ask for one more custom view, so if you do want to add, by the way, when you do that ZAppLink, it's like a temporary document that it saves. So you will want to get all your separate views. One of these is the bottom view. I think that's this one. I don't need the bottom view. It automatically creates one, but I don't need it, so I just want the top view. And then I only need one of the side views. You can pick which side you think is best. It doesn't really matter. So yeah, I should be able to select that. Again, if it's being a little touchy, just kind of click and drag with the marquee, which is M on your keyboard, and then you can drag that in over here, okay? So like I said, if you clear your views and do one more, let's say custom close-up, I'll just do clear all, clear. And let's say, I don't know, pick another region here or whatever. I'll go to Documents, Custom, and it's just going to be one, but when you hit Z App Link, it's going to, sorry, not Z App Link, Make Character Sheet, I should say. It will pop this thing over and then say, hey, like this is updated. At least I think it will. Let me just double check that. Yeah, so I'll hit E to edit this one, and then I can just Control A to copy everything, Control V to paste, and then you can sort of scale them down if you want. Okay, so we can sort of arrange that so that it makes more sense here. Drag that below there. Okay, so that's a decent way to kind of present things. Now, in terms of rendering too, what will often happen is whichever tool is your kind of preferred tool. So I think I'm on the ground plane. Or no, on these blocks. So you'll notice that everything else gets kind of more darkly grayed out. So if you go to Preferences, Edit, and then go to Inactive Dimming, if you set this to 1 and then click somewhere in your viewport, it will all be the same sort of shading. There won't be anything grayed out because you've selected one subtool. Conversely, I find it actually more useful to make this really, really dark sometimes when you're working on a very specific tool and you want to isolate it visually. So that's another thing you can use. But like I said, for rendering, I'll set this to 1 typically. And so that way you don't have kind of things that are individually shaded outside of the current selected subtool. Okay. Something else too, I usually will use either Blinn or Bump Viewer, depending on which one looks better. And you may also want to use basic material. I don't usually, I want to have a little bit of a specular highlight so I can kind of see the surface. So again, I think what I should have done prior to this is set up, in this case for me, Bump Viewer looks good. And if we go to render, because we're in preview mode, you can actually enable ambient occlusion in preview mode. And that looks really nice too. So it really shows off your modeling, right? You see how much kind of more punchier it is with and without, right? So I'll maybe just dock this over to the side so we can sort of see it with and without. Yeah. I don't know if I asked for an ambient occlusion style render, but you can do that simply by switching to Skin Shade 4 and making sure, again, that ambient occlusion is on. So it's really just like a quick preview render. And for me, the quality is pretty good. If you were to go to BPR, however, it will do a much cleaner render. But BPR, I think in this case, it's still actually keeping the preview ambient occlusion, so that's kind of nice. It's adding some additional lighting, which if we look in the render menu, again, you can go back in here and look at it through here. You can basically go into render properties, and we don't really need shadows for this, so we can just turn off shadows. What BPR will do is actually give you much cleaner, smoother handling of the pixels, and it'll look a lot higher quality. So again, if I go to, let's say, I'll just export this. I don't really need to send it over. That's fine. Okay, but yeah, it handles the pixels a lot better. The preview mode is kind of like not smoothing from one pixel to the next, and BPR will do a bit of smoothing. So whether you're just doing kind of your Blinn or basic material or Bump Viewer, basic material for me is actually pretty good for these kinds of renders too. So if you BPR this, and there we go, I think that's done. Let me just double check if the preview AO, yeah, preview AO is still on. And you can also exaggerate this, the intensity of the preview AO, the radius, the spread basically. Well, I don't think it's adding it to this, but anyways, it will give you, like I said, a much kind of smoother render than just a straight up export. But if you're exporting from the document space in full HD rather than just leaving it at the default sort of document size, which is usually a bit lower than HD, you know, it'll still look pretty good. So yeah, BPR, you know, these little touches are kind of just those extra steps that are going to push things over the edge and make things look a lot more polished.